Welcome to Vegas, the city without clocks. In the casinos, anyway. Here at CSI, time is something we pay close attention to, because the early hours of a murder investigation are key. As our newest crime scene investigator, your credentials are strong, but the proof is in your performance.
Yeah, we've got a situation over... Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt.
Catherine Willows, let me introduce you to our newest CSI. Now, what have you got for us?
Art gallery owner by the Strip with an unexpected exhibit on his showroom floor. A dead body. Possible homicide.
Thanks, Kath. Okay, I'm partnering you with Warwick Brown on this case. He'll help show you the ropes. But your own CSI skills are what we're counting on to crack this case. Catherine, I have lab work to get back to. Would you supervise this case?
You got it, Gil.
And you should head to that art gallery now. Oh, and remember, as G.K. Chesterton once said, the criminal is the creative artist, the detective only the critic.
Hey, I'm CSI Warwick Brown. I'm glad to have some help on this one. We got a dead Vic on the floor, and a live gallery owner waiting in the sidelines. Are you ready? Good. Pay close attention. We're in the art world, and if you don't know how to look at something, you won't understand what it means.
This is the Nathan Ackerman Fine Art Studio, and I am Nathan Ackerman. My art, displaying the creativity and, on occasion, the genius of my exhibitors, in a setting that is itself a work of art.
Do you mind if we ask you a few questions?
Please do. Consider me your host and ally. Don't hesitate to ask if I can help you resolve this affair quickly and cleanly.
I'll see what we can do. But Mr. Ackerman, there's nothing clean about murder.
I was out briefly on an errand, and to my devastation, I discovered a client, Rachel Maddox, dead on my gallery floor. You must understand that this is a crushing blow. Rachel was an excellent client and a dear friend. I can't imagine who would do such a thing. Perhaps a vagrant or one of these psychopathic killers you read so much about? Rachel was about to be a bride. She had commissioned a painting and a sculpture, both of herself, for her wedding from one of my best artists. Unfortunately, he can also be one of my slowest artists, and Rachel and her fiancé were, well, let's say, fit to be tied that the art pieces, which were due some time ago, were not ready. I had an emergency overnight artwork delivery to ship. I needed to leave by 5 p.m., but Rachel was adamant we had to wait for the artist to come. I really shouldn't have left the two of them alone in the gallery, but they were respectable clients. Anyway, Rachel, refused to leave. She said she was staying put just in case. I believe her words were, "Irresponsible ass of an artist does me the supreme favor of showing up." So that's how I came to leave the two of them here, and I had intended to be back before we closed at 6. As it was 6:10 before I returned and found the door wide open and Rachel in this terrible posture. As for her fiancé, he was nowhere to be seen. This is the most ghastly thing that has ever happened at the Nathan Ackerman Fine Art Studio. What kind of mad beast are we dealing with here? Her fiancé is one Mark Stock, a taciturn fellow with a physique worthy of a Greek sculpture and just about as talkative. Frankly, he has the personality of a doorstop and the artistic taste of a hillbilly. Forgive my candor. The man does have his admirers. He's an ex-baseball player of some kind, from the minor leagues, I believe. As I said, he was here with Rachel when I left, but when I returned, she was alone and dead. Yes, they were having an argument about the art, which was unusual as Mr. Stock had never expressed an opinion from the beginning. Now he was making a stand. He said it was foolish to make such a fuss, and the wedding could easily go on without these silly pieces. But Rachel wasn't having any of that. In Mr. Stock's words, he can sound rather shrill for such a strapping specimen of masculinity. He said Rachel had become unreasonable and out of control over the artist not showing up. And, well, honestly, he had a point. She did have that side to her. Understand, I was very fond of Rachel, but frankly, some of the invective she hurled was directed not just at her fiancé, but, if you can imagine, at me. Fortunately, a truce between the betrothed had come to pass before I had to leave. They were even, shall we say, affectionate. I felt comfortable enough leaving them alone. The storm had blown over, and they were like lovebirds again. To me, Mark Stock would be an enigma if he had a higher IQ. During their tiff, he seemed cold, emotionless. He's one of those passive-aggressive types who occasionally erupt, but in a strange, distant way, unleashing a torrent of abusive language, but delivering that invective in a controlled, cruel manner, seemingly devoid of any feeling. They visit Vegas frequently, weekend getaways, on which they invariably stop by my gallery to do business. Rachel did so love art. What was the question? No, I have no address. They flew in for their wedding, and I have no idea at which hotel, though it will certainly be one of the pricier ones. Patrick Milton. Many of the works in the showroom are in fact his. He's not a critical darling, considered by some too commercial, but the public loves him, and as long as they do, so do I. That was the spark that lit the fuse of the argument between Rachel and Mark. The artist had vowed to be here with the finished painting and sculpture first thing this morning, but he didn't show up at all, not the first time, and Rachel flew into a rage when he did not appear. Heavens, our association goes back years, almost a decade. Quite frankly, he's the star here. I've displayed and sold hundreds of his works. I could have sold more, but he misses so many deadlines. No matter how hard I've tried to breed professionalism into his artist's soul, I failed. Still, he does sell. Ridiculous as it might seem, no. I have never once, in all the years of our very successful association, even seen his studio. As I say, he's quirky, private to the point of reclusiveness. Oh, but of course I have a phone number and a P.O. box. He wants his checks, after all.
That'll be enough to track him. Thanks, Mr. Ackerman.
My fingerprints are all over this gallery, both literally and figuratively. As I said, I intend to cooperate fully. My life is an open book.
$60 for an earthbound bird? If art theft was the motivation, why not take the other two birds as well? Nice catch. Whoever bagged our bird may have left that print. The Vic's face down. Spatter pattern on the wall close by indicates blunt force trauma. Take a photo of this. It's always good for future reference. You're going to need an angle that shows the Vic's position in relation to the spatter. I want you to note the blood spatter here. For a visual pattern like this, you'll want to use the digital camera. Then you can get the blood afterwards. Well, if a picture's worth 1,000 words, we got several thousand here telling us what went down. The Vic was hit at least twice. Pattern in her position relative to it tells us so. The first blow probably caused the puncture wound and sent her to the ground. The second blow, while she was down, created the blood spatter. Too pretty, too young, and way too dead. Pay close attention to the body. There could be evidence anywhere from head to toe. The blood flowed from the head wound and naturally pooled around her. That suggests she bled to death right here. Whoa. With a rock like that left behind, I doubt we have a robbery. This was personal. No wallet, cash, or ID. Could this be a glorified mugging? That's no human hair. It's too thick. Some kind of animal, maybe. Hey, maybe we just got lucky. That blood print says somebody's shoe picked up transfer.
No, I'm sorry, no.
What happened in full cooperation? Your life an open book?
My life is an open book, that I pledge to you. But I can't allow this door to be opened. I may seem inconsistent, but there are many expensive, even priceless objects that are back there, and I cannot risk damage. Particularly when I see no relevance to your investigation, since it's been locked throughout this entire unfortunate affair. I'm sorry, unless you have a warrant, I just can't allow you to go flinging your fingerprint powder around and spritzing your various sprays. Oh, I can tell you it's a disaster. That's one of our most valuable pieces. Hawks are a specialty of Mr. Milton's, and that's a signature work. Any Milton collector would kill to... excuse me, that was an unfortunate burst of hyperbole, but I can say with no exaggeration at all that the Perch Predator is an expensive item indeed, and I'll be calling my insurance agent as soon as we're done here.
Do you have a photo of that missing statue?
Standard operating procedure in the art game. I'll be glad to get it for you, though I'd appreciate its eventual return. Insurance, you know. I'm sorry, unless you have a warrant, I just can't allow you to go flinging your fingerprint powder around and spritzing your various sprays. Be my guest.
Sure, I'll send a team right out. Blunt force trauma, back of the head. Wound's interesting, an irregular shape, somewhat triangular. It's the murder weapon's signature. Here's something you might find interesting. A small piece of foreign fibrous material, definitely not skull. Well, based on the victim's liver temperature, dead less than 2 hours. Under ideal conditions, the body cools 2 degrees the first hour, then 1 degree after that. So we can put it around 5:30 p.m. The fragment I found appears similar in color to the photograph, so the bird's bill might be consistent with the wound. But without the real thing, it's just a guess. Way ahead of you. Taking fingerprints off a victim's body is part of my routine. Here you are. Toxicology tests show high concentrations of diazepam, a benzodiazepine commonly prescribed for anxiety disorders. Well, it's not entirely unusual, but your prospective bride already had a honeymoon, semen in the vaginal canal, no forced entry, presumably consensual sex. I've got a sample for you. Of course, glad to have your perspective.
Hey, do you need a hint? The prints on the pedestal are Ackerman's. It's no surprise. It's his gallery. Of course, he's still a suspect. This verifies Ackerman stepped in the victim's blood. wall spatter matches the Vic's blood. It's a start. Links her to the crime scene.
So you think that hawk sculpture might be the murder weapon, huh? I'll get my boys to start searching for it immediately. Check back later. Well, I can have a unit hit the hotels with cold calls. It'll take a while, but as long as our lovebirds were registered under their real names, we'll find them. Our friendly neighborhood art dealer opened the gallery 12 years ago, and his record's clean. I found some online reviews saying Ackerman is an overcharging, tasteless fraud. But hey, that's no crime. Even a self-proclaimed genius like Patrick Milton can't escape the electric company. And we got his address from their bill. Here you go.
And if I am?
Las Vegas Crime Lab. Murder investigation. Are you Patrick Milton?
Yes, all right, yes. I'm Patrick Milton, but I don't know anything about a murder, you say?
Yes, sir. We have a few questions. You mind?
You better make yourself clear about how this supposedly involves me, because I'm on a deadline. I'm an artist on commission here, and I have a painting to finish, and I'm trying to grab a window of solitude while these damn construction workers are on break, whatever they're doing. My God, the noise lately here. What? Which commissioner? You don't mean Rachel? You don't mean Rachel Maddox, do you? It's not possible. There's no one on the planet more alive than Rachel. How did it happen?
Blunt force trauma, Mr. Milton. The murder weapon may have been a statue, possibly one of yours. The perched predator is missing from the gallery.
My lord, no. The hours, the months that went into that? Was it stolen? Please tell me it wasn't destroyed. It's one of my most valuable works. Well, right here, of course. I mean, I practically live in this studio. The demands on me as an artist are unceasing. Haven't you talked to my patron, the esteemed Nathan Ackerman? He called me and tore me a new one, and I decided the best thing to do was to stay home and get this painting and sculpture completed before Rachel's wedding day. I've been bunkered in here slaving ever since. My intention was to deliver everything tomorrow, right before the wedding. I couldn't see wasting time dealing with Rachel. There was a lot to admire about her spirit, her intelligence, but she was frankly the worst-tempered woman I ever met. The most difficult client I ever encountered. I figured the less contact with her, the better. That's it, and it's going well. I'm almost done with it, but I guess there isn't any hurry now. Pity. Despite her ugly side, Rachel was a beautiful woman and a worthwhile subject. Actually, yes, the Maddox Stocks wedding commission is only part of what I have on my plate. And I've been battling headaches and back problems, what with all this horrendous construction racket going on, starting at 7 a.m., including weekends. Do you have any idea how difficult it is to concentrate? Well, it began cordially enough. She was a big admirer of my work, owned a number of my bird and animal sculptures. She approached me to do these special paintings to be displayed at her wedding reception. And I told her I rarely did the human form. I'm a nature artist, you see, and I have a knack for just slightly idealizing reality. Well, she did have her charming side, you know, and she said, well, I'm one of nature's best works of art. Are you up to capturing me? How could I turn her down? And the money wasn't bad either. And as I say, I would have delivered the painting and sculpture on time. Nick of time, but on time. Right at the reception ballroom. I'm almost done now.
Did you contact Rachel or Ackerman to tell them about this change of plans?
No. And before you condemn me as rude and egocentric, let me just say, you never had a deal with Rachel Maddox. You have no idea the hoops she made me jump through. Sounds unkind now that she's dead, but really, I wanted to keep her waiting. Let her, no other way of saying this, suffer a little, like I had. Let her squirm and stew. But my lord, I would never wish anything like this upon her. In a word, rocky. She was a lovely girl, but rich and spoiled. At the beginning, she posed live for me. She was so demanding. Kept leaving her modeling pedestal to see what I was doing. Literally look over my shoulder. That, well, hell, that was just maddening. Finally, I just banished her from my studio. I'd already taken photographs of her in the desired pose, and these were sufficient reference. And photos don't talk back, nag, or interfere with the artistic process in any way. Well, from my point of view, it was entirely unprofessional and even hostile. I deserve better from someone I worked with for so long. You have no concept how much money I've made for Nathan Ackerman. But at least I didn't get caught up in a screaming match. I let the answering machine get it. He wanted me to drop everything and get over to the gallery. It was pretty clear from how frazzled he sounded. He had his own generous serving of Rachel Maddox at her worst.
So you're telling me you didn't drop by to set Ackerman and your client straight?
Hell no. Nathan I could handle. But as overworked as I am, dealing directly with Rachel Maddox, I didn't need that grief. Well, frankly, my intention was to avoid seeing her at all. She'd be at the wedding, and I'd be at the reception ballroom dropping off the art. Call me a coward, but you people never saw Rachel in full flaming bitch mode. I guess you can take it. I live and work alone, but you already know I had no reason to leave until this artwork was finished. Haven't you been listening?
Message received, 3:30 p.m.
Patrick, are you there? I know you're there. Pick up. Damn it, Patrick. This unprofessionalism has to cease. Get down here with that painting and statue ASAP. And if they're not done, you come deal with Rachel Maddox. She's climbing the walls, not to mention my ass. Take half an hour and put some finishing touches on and bring that blasted art. We need her final payment today to cover up, well, damn it, just get down here. This witch is finding new depths of unpleasantness, and we have to calm her down somehow. And Patrick, if you're not here within the hour, my next call will be to my attorney to instruct him to sue your egotistical irresponsible ass. Understood?
Wow, doesn't sound much like the host and ally we know. Sounds like Ackerman was on the edge.
Once you get enough evidence, I'll hit up a judge.
No, I'm sorry, not unless you have a warrant. Goodness, I don't know. Perhaps I stepped in it when I found her. I'm sure that must be it. I just don't remember that clearly. It's all a jumble. Why wouldn't it be? I'm a hands-on gallery owner. And as it happens, I showed that very piece earlier today to a prospective buyer. Wasn't anyone else's fingerprint on there?
No, just you, Mr. Ackerman. But that doesn't prove you took your own statue, just that you touched that pedestal.
I wouldn't call it a threat. Patrick was well aware we had a client who was high-strung, and that if that artwork was late, there would be hell to pay. Well, why should I pay it? You know that any business suffers occasional cash flow problems, but really, mentioning I might sue him was my way of lighting a fire under Patrick. He is a fussy perfectionist, and I know he could finish up that painting and even the sculpture by deadline if he just got on with it.
I've got nothing new to report on the Vic. Once you get enough evidence, I'll hit up a judge.
Those two aren't quite a match. Try to be more sure before you ask me for confirmation. It's all about the details. Squirrel hair. Commonly used to make paintbrushes. Maybe we should find our reclusive artist.
Once you get enough evidence, I'll hit up a judge.
We've done all we can with that item. Those two aren't quite a match. Try to be more sure before you ask me for confirmation. It's all about the details. Those two aren't quite a match. Try to be more sure before you ask me for confirmation. It's all about the details. Those two aren't quite a match. Try to be more sure before you ask me for confirmation. It's all about the details. So, Rachel and her fiance did kiss and make up tonight. Evidence of sperm shows Mark scored a home run. But look at this. He's got a record with a history of violence. So let's get brass on this bad boy.
We've tracked every hotel and resort in Vegas. No small task. But we've got them registered at the Romanov, which is also where their wedding and reception was scheduled. Mark Stock's here to identify his fiance's body. He says he's eager to help. So let's give him the chance.
We know this is difficult, Mr. Stock. You have our condolences.
You don't have to pretend to feel anything. You didn't know Rachel. Who did this to her?
Well, that's what we're trying to find out, sir. Best we can tell, you were the last person to see her alive.
That's not true.
Then who was Mr. Stock?
Her killer, of course. Look, I was only with Rachel another maybe 15 minutes after Ackerman went off to mail a package or something. I had a previous engagement.
And what was that?
My bachelor party at Orgasma.
You mean the strip joint?
Yeah. You think a bachelor party's going down at a library or maybe a church basement? A guy I used to play ball with recommended him to me. Some favor. As far as I'm concerned, Ackerman's a pretentious sleazeball. His word's as good as the paper it isn't written on, if you get me. And this crap with him and this clown Milton. I don't remember when I was ever so frustrated. Listen, I loved Rachel. I worshipped that woman. But she had a temper like a rabid monkey. And when Ackerman and Milton started jerking us around over that work, man, Rachel went off like a bomb. When that girl got mad, whoa, she'd get in your face and your eyeballs and teeth would melt. She wanted her natural beauty preserved forever, displayed at the reception so her family and friends and the whole damn world could see her towering majesty. She insisted that damn artist would show up, and the owner was off on his errand. He left the keys with us in case he wasn't back by 6 so we could lock up for him.
He gave you the keys to the gallery?
Yeah, Rachel and me were supposed to lock up at 6. Ackerman headed out with his package, we had our little fling in back, and then, well, I had a bachelor party to go to. I was a cocky kid, a college star who wound up in the minor leagues. I was too damn dumb to know I should just pay my dues like everybody else, and I made a lot of enemies, throwing my weight and my temper around. And I paid the price for it. That incident got me blacklisted from the league and ended any hope of a major league career. And it was my own damn fault, okay? And since then, hey, man, you're looking at a pacifist.
But maybe you had a relapse, snapped under all this wedding pressure.
After that bust, I started seeing a court-appointed shrink, and I am Mr. Chill now. Nothing gets to me, not even Rachel's temper. I look back on how I used to be, and man, I was not cool. I was a world-class ass. That's not me anymore. I loved Rach, and her family was going to set me up in a sporting goods shop that would have given me a whole new lease on life. You think I would have flushed that down the John like I did my baseball career over an argument about some damn artwork? No way, man. No way. I didn't kill her. I loved her. But there is one situation where I might lose it again. Might have, what'd you say? A relapse.
How's that?
When you catch this bastard, if I get my hands on him, no guarantees, man. No guarantees. Of course. We're on the same team, guys. Find who did this. Find him. Oh, you know, just had our fun with some cheap champagne. I was supposed to meet the guys downtown at 6 before we headed for Orgasma and the Bash, so hell, must have been, what, 5:15? And I had to put pedal to the metal to make it on time, even so.
It's nice, Pat. It's not what I expected, though. This girl spends thousands on artwork for the wedding, but she opts for the junior suite? People and their priorities. Brass can track down this number for us. A good idea to be thorough, but nothing's there. A good idea to be thorough, but nothing's there. That artwork was definitely due the day of the murder. Wow, the European honeymoon of a lifetime. Not anymore. A good idea to be thorough, but nothing's there. A good idea to be thorough, but nothing's there. Good idea to be thorough, but nothing's there. Those two aren't quite a match. Try to be more sure before you ask me for confirmation. It's all about the details. Those two aren't quite a match. Try to be more sure before you ask me for confirmation. It's all about the details. Those two aren't quite a match. Try to be more sure before you ask me for confirmation. It's all about the details. Those two aren't quite a match. Try to be more sure before you ask me for confirmation. It's all about the details. Those two aren't quite a match. Try to be more sure before you ask me for confirmation. It's all about the details.
That phone number was to a ticket theater broker. A clerk there remembers Rachel arguing with her about ticket prices. Once you get enough evidence, I'll hit up a judge.
Yes. Why? Is that a problem?
Why did you leave this out of the report?
Oh, well, frankly, I forgot all about that.
There were no keys on her body.
Well, I took them, actually. They were my property, after all, and I didn't see how they could be important. Nothing sinister about it, just an oversight, my failing to mention it. Surely you can understand I'm a bit flustered after all of this. Yes, I'm sorry, of course.
Rachel's blood on the keys means they were near her when she was attacked. Could the killer have used them too?
I can't think of anything pertinent that I haven't already shared.
Rachel's blood is on these keys. Ackerman must have taken them from the crime scene. But was it during or after the crime?
Okay. Looks like our Vic may have had access to the back office, and it's possible we may find our murder weapon back there. That's enough to get a search warrant.
I can't think of anything pertinent that I haven't already shared.
A good idea to be thorough, but nothing's there.
I can't think of anything pertinent that I haven't already shared.
Hey, do you need a hint? You know, these scissors look nice and sharp, but not heavy enough to cause that spatter pattern. It's possible our blunt force bird didn't fly far from the coop after all. Let's see what Robbins has to say about this. A good idea to be thorough, but nothing's there. The safe is locked. Since it's too small to hold a murder weapon, our search warrant doesn't let us unlock it. We'll need a different warrant to get in here. So, the cooperative Mr. Ackerman is holding out again. He'd been hit by a nasty lawsuit by the Vic. Maybe he pretended to mail his package, but instead waited for Mark to leave. And back into service as client, stepping in the blood when he took his keys back.
At first I thought it might, but the Eagles bill is much larger than whatever caused the actual puncture wound. This is definitely not the murder weapon.
Okay. Seeking evidence of the gallery owner's financial woes, which makes a good motive for murder. I know a judge I can call to open that safe.
Bank records. If Ackerman's got money trouble, this should tell us.
I can't think of anything pertinent that I haven't already shared.
Once you get enough evidence, I'll hit up a judge.
I usually use red sable, but I probably have a few squirrel brushes, yeah.
The victim's clothing revealed a paintbrush hair.
And you consider that unusual in an art gallery. You have any idea how many artists work in this town? Hundreds. And you'll find thousands of squirrel hair brushes. Good luck to you. Look, I'll cooperate. I know you have a job to do. But understand that I have a job to do myself. Take what you want, and then please leave me to my work to myself. Art doesn't happen It's a struggle, and I need my solitude. And it may seem callous, but I consider finishing my artwork a higher priority than finding whoever killed Rachel Maddox. Dig into her life, and you'll find as many people not sorry to see her dead as you will squirrel hair brushes. Suppose there's no way of avoiding this, and why I should want to protect that son of a bitch Ackerman, I'll never know. Call it misguided loyalty, but anyway, financial problems is an understatement. He owes me thousands, and over these past 6 months or so, he's come up with some, shall we say, unconventional ways of reimbursing me when cash wasn't handy. Well, he offered me his second car, a big screen television from his former rec room, any number of nice, but honestly secondhand items. I took a few of these offers just to help out, but Nathan's still into me for, well, let's just say the notion of him suing me is amusing. I know he often accepts cash payments from clients, for reasons you could probably guess, detectives that you are. If not, ask the IRS. Sometimes he's had enough cash in that safe of his to paper those gallery walls.
What safe are you talking about?
Oh, it's in his back office / stock room. Keeps documents, sales records, and so on in there, I believe.
Well, with cash in that safe, maybe you broke in to claim it was yours, and Rachel Maddox just happened to be there, after hours, the very person you wanted to avoid.
Ridiculous! That's slander!
So sue me.
I don't have anything else to say to you people.
There's more to be done with that item before we can process it. There's more to be done with that item before we can process it. There's more to be done with that item before we can process it. There's more to be done with that item before we can process it. There's more to be done with that item before we can process it. There's more to be done with that item before.
Once you've got enough evidence, I'll hit up a judge.
I can't think of anything pertinent that I haven't already shared.
So we got common variety squirrel paintbrush fibers. The two samples are consistent with each other, but not enough for a positive identification. We've done all we can with that item. You'll want a different tool for that. Why don't you try the DNA analyzer? Those two aren't quite a match. Try to be more sure before you ask me for confirmation. It's all about the details. Those two aren't quite a match. Try to be more sure before you ask me for confirmation. It's all about the details. Well, looks like the prospective bride and groom had their prelim honeymoon on this desk.
We have a hostile person who claims he wasn't there, but he has the Vic's blood on him. Let's talk.
I had her blood on my clothes plenty of times. Rachel had rhinoplasty a few years ago. Since then, she's had trouble with nosebleeds. She had one just before we went to the gallery. I noticed it. I changed my shirt before we left. All right. After our cool down in the back room, we got into another argument. She started all romantic and sweet, then surprised me with these theater tickets to the most expensive show in town, that Canadian chick who sings real high and all. But I told Rach I couldn't blow off my buddies who've been planning this big bachelor party for me. She was so pissed. What do you want to see naked women for when you have me? I said, Rach, it's not a sex thing. It's a guy thing. I got to spend my last night of freedom with them. That set her off again, but I wasn't having any. I just stormed out of there.
Stormed out? Oh, I thought you kept your cool these days.
I did keep my cool. That's how I kept it, by just walking away. What I hate is that it ended like that we parted on that nasty note. Sure, sort of. I was on the highway, busting ass getting to my pals waiting for me downtown, so I can't prove it, but they'll verify when I showed up. How did you know that?
We found evidence of your semen inside of her.
Rachel had a predictable habit. Whenever she got really mad, she wanted to work it off. The fact that Ackerman left us alone, it just made things happen faster. It was the one thing that made her temper bearable. The makeup sex.
Mr. Stock, for a guy who suffered a blow like this, frankly, you seem kind of, clinical about your late fiancée.
I'll do my grieving my own way, pal. But I'm sure you'll find out about this anyway. I was on the verge of calling it off. The whole shooting match. Relationship, wedding, whole deal. Great sex is not enough for all this stress. Rachel was turning into an out-of-control, unreasonable nutcase of self-involved vanity. But I still loved her. I can't tell you more than I know.
You're in luck. One of our hawk-eyed detectives found your turkey in a dumpster by the gallery. It's got a broken beak and a few other surprises. Give it a close look.
Hey, Warwick, I could use an update on the art gallery homicide.
Sure. First, our new CSI is all over this thing. We've already got time of death and the murder weapon.
Not bad for your first night.
Yeah, well, let's not break our hand patting our back. We got miles to go before we sleep. Plenty of leads, but no firm suspects. Any ideas, Kath?
Sometimes the evidence we collect has more evidence on it. I suggest you give all your evidence another hard look. Murder weapon, especially. May find something key toward completing your trinity.
Okay, rookie. You heard the boss. Let's go back to square one with fresh eyes. Who's to say where the substance came from, since our murder weapon was found in a damn dumpster? Collect it, though. You never know. Till you know. So, the perched predator had a feast for his last supper. Let's test the blood to see what type of mammal was on the menu. Well, the blood on the beak is Rachel's, and the beak fits the wound, so we have our murder weapon. But who killed her?
You've got some good evidence on Patrick. I can call a judge and get a search warrant to cover anything with paint on it. Is that wide enough of a brush for you?
That's outrageous. There's nothing here that has anything to do with your stupid investigation. You're violating my sanctuary.
Well, you're violating this warrant. Move. So this is the famous painting in progress. You'll want a different tool for that. Blue paint. But is it the blue paint? A good idea to be thorough, but nothing's there. A good idea to be thorough, but nothing's there. A good idea to be thorough, but nothing's there. Killer tickets for the hottest show in town, night of the murder. Boy, you're lucky when you land these.
A friend of mine gave them to me. I took them to be nice. Didn't really have any interest in that commercial stupidity.
So it must be some friend to give you such expensive tickets. And you must be pretty well off to toss something you could resell for a couple $100. So who's the friend?
I don't remember. A guy I talked to at the corner restaurant, I think.
We'll see about that. Paint from the art studio matches the murder weapon. Maybe Patrick tried to deliver that painting after all. He grabbed his own artwork and swung it hard.
The victim does have a blood clot in the nasal cavity and several patches of dried blood. Yes, I would say she recently had a bloody nose and no sign of trauma causing it. This is a match. This was the item used to bludgeon Rachel to death. The puncture wound is consistent with the hawk statue's beak, plus the fragment I recovered from the head wound matches the beak.
He's on his way to interrogation now.
I can't tell you more than I know.
I can't think of anything pertinent that I haven't already shared.
A good idea.
I don't have anything else to say to you people.
You can run that on the chemical analyzer. Bingo. That custom paint from Patrick's brushes matches the paint on the murder weapon.
I don't have anything else to say to you people.
Those two aren't quite a match. Try to be more sure before you ask me for confirmation. It's all about the details. Those two aren't quite a match. Try to be more sure before you ask me for confirmation. It's all about the details. This key has Rachel's print on it, so it's possible she opened that locked office before she died. I wonder if our Hawk statue took flight back there. Our gallery guy's busted flatter than a stretched canvas. We've done all we can with that item. 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 There's more to be done with that item before we can process it. There's more to be done with that item before we can process it. You'll want a different tool for that. Someday our prince will come, and this is it. Let's get this over to the lab. The print matches Rachel. Patrick Milton, having them in his possession, ties him directly to her.
You could serve about 12 warrants on this bozo. He's coming down to the station now, and if he can talk his way out of this, he's a real artist.
You know no such thing. She was a client, and a rich one. She was a pain in the ass, sure, but I wouldn't kill the goose providing the golden eggs. Do I look that stupid?
The evidence says you do.
So I think you went down there to deliver the unfinished painting. Maybe you tried to pass it off as an artistic statement, but Rachel was having none of it. You see, the meth increased your normal rage, so you grabbed the nearest heavy object, ironically signing the murder with your own work. But the painting is oil-based, and it transferred blue paint to the hawk. So you ditched the hawk in a dumpster, but you kept the damaged painting, so it could support your story that you were still working while Rachel was being killed. And as for the wallet, you grabbed the cash and you dumped it. The tickets, I'm sure, were hidden in the cash, and when you noticed them, you tore them up. But you had no idea Rachel's fingerprints remained.
Do you have any idea, any notion at all of what it's like to be an artist? A true artist, and have to put up with the capitalistic needs of that pompous ass Ackerman reading me the riot act over the phone, that fool. He was the one who made me mad, really. Truly got my negative energies flowing. But when I came around to deliver that damn painting, who was waiting? All by herself. The lovely subject of my painting. And the painting, you've seen it yourself, it's a masterpiece. It can still use some finishing touches.
Only you gave the model, not the painting, the finishing touches, didn't you, Patrick?
The woman was a 14-carat bitch. She had the nerve to attack my painting, to criticize me. Face too bright, hair too dark, dress draped improperly, proportions all wrong. God, if I only had the courage to depict the inner her, the demon behind that beautiful face. She's lucky I didn't. She's lucky.
Well, she's also dead. She was your boss, Patrick. Night before her wedding, she had to chase you around for the artwork she commissioned. Ever think maybe she had a point?
Easy for you. Easy for you. You weren't there. You weren't the brunt of her verbal blows.
Yeah, but she was the brunt of your literal blows.
Fine. I did it. I rid the world of a monster, a shrill, unrelenting witch. I did her the favor of making her beauty live forever through my art, and the world a favor by ridding it of her inner ugliness. Satisfied? And now I'm tired. I need rest. I need peace. Some quiet. Time to contemplate and time alone to create my art. Thank you.
Well, you'll have plenty of time alone from here on out.
That was a fine first lesson in the art of crime scene investigation. Without the evidence you and Warwick uncovered, that was a masterpiece of murder that might have gone unsolved. Good job. Before we get back out into the field, let me review your case and give you your evaluation.
You investigated every possible angle on this case. Doesn't happen often, but I'm very impressed.